This is the Phoenix, Arizona weather discussion for Thursday, the 2nd of January. I'm Michael Groff. It's the second day of the brand new year, but it's the same old weather pattern here across the Southwest. Dry conditions, temperatures above average. That will continue through tomorrow. A weather system passing by to the north over the weekend should bring in at least slightly cooler temperatures. And then the forecast for next week has some uncertainty, especially by late next week. And does that mean we're going to have any chances for rain, meaningful or otherwise? Well, we'll talk about that and everything else, too, going on as we dive on in and discuss. All right, first, the almanac from yesterday. Your first day of 2025 had a high temperature of 72 degrees, that morning low of 45. 66 and 45 are the averages for this time of year. As we take a look outside right now, just after 10:15 a.m., we've got mostly sunny sky, just a few clouds out there. We're sitting at 57 degrees at Sky Harbor, dew point's 19, humidity 23%, winds are light, the barometer 30.21 inches and rising. Satellite picture out here across the west, and it's the same old story, isn't it? High pressure is in control, a dry west to northwesterly flow, and a few streaks of high clouds of some cirrus moving on through the flow. But other than that, no sensible weather for us. There is another weather system approaching the west coast. That system will pass by mostly to the north of us, but that will be what brings about at least slightly cooler temperatures over the weekend and sets the chain in motion for the cooler weather to come in next week. And when I say cooler, at least I would say 7 to 10 degrees cooler than where we've been, maybe a little bit more than that, as we'll show you in a moment here on modeling. The watch warning map, things are pretty quiet right now. And we do have some snowflakes flying over the northeast, a few winter weather advisories elsewhere, but not really any high impact events ongoing at present. Convective outlook for today with most of the nation in that cool, stable air. We don't see any organized severe weather. In fact, not even so much as a clap of thunder to be heard over the lower 48. And the precipitation outlook, this is valid through Thursday morning of next week. Rain amounts in Phoenix, nothing. Statewide, not much. Now, if there is going to be any precipitation in the next 7 days, maybe Tuesday or Tuesday night, with the weather system passing by, we might squeeze out a little bit of rain and snow over northern and eastern Arizona. But, I mean, it'll be barely enough to measure, kind of just a spit, a drizzle, a passing shower at best. But what about beyond this period? I mean, there are signs of a big pattern change over North America. In fact, not only signs, but it's a screaming indicator that we're going to see a pattern change. What does it mean for us? What is this uncertainty I was talking about? Well, we'll get to it right now as we check out the models. Here we go. It's the GFS. This is the 12Z run, and it's valid at 5 o'clock this afternoon. High pressure remains in control out here across the west, including the southwest. The upper heights are above average, and so that's going to translate to more of the same down at the surface for the rest of the day today. Sunny to mostly sunny sky, and high temperatures topping out in the mid-70s. Average high for today, 66 degrees. Again, 10, 12 degrees above that, likely. Tonight, clear sky with dry air. We should drop off into the upper 30s in the cold spots, 40s for most of the rest of us. And then for tomorrow, this will probably be the warmest day of the period. I'd say high temperatures, mid to upper 70s, maybe even hitting 80 degrees in one or two spots across southern and southwest Arizona. The sky remains mostly sunny. We've got a weather system moving on to the Pacific Northwest coast, and that's going to bring rain and higher elevation snow there eventually to the Great Basin. Now, as that system traverses east, it weakens quite a bit, but it's going to pass by to the north across the Intermountain West on Saturday. And here we go. We'll see some breezy conditions at times, especially across northern Arizona, and temperatures should be slightly lower on Saturday. I'd say highs probably low to mid 70s here, so a few degrees cooler. And again, yeah, some passing clouds, but that's going to be about it. Same story on Sunday. Temperatures down a bit, upper 60s, low 70s. Again, a few passing clouds, but I think pretty much by Sunday, we should see a return to mostly sunny sky here. Now let's go to next week, and the forecast uncertainty grows. We're still pretty confident in how early week plays out. We'll see another short wave dropping in across the west, but this is going to be moving over land. It's a highly positively tilted short wave, meaning that the orientation of its axis is southwest to northeast, where as you go further northeast, the heights are lowered and the pressure is lowered. So that's how that's oriented. And since it's moving over land, it's not going to be picking up much Pacific moisture. So this is a fairly dry system. Now, that said, we're still going to see at least a little bit of rain and snow across parts of maybe northern Nevada, Utah, Wyoming. And then this is going to drop in here on Tuesday and bring in a little bit more cool air. So again, early week, Monday, Tuesday, high temperatures, mid-60s to around 70. We'll see some breezes on Tuesday as this drops on in. And it doesn't have much moisture, but there's enough dynamics around that we could see an isolated rain or snow shower over northern or eastern Arizona, I guess. But the chance of that's pretty low, and the chance of it being anything measurable is pretty low. But it's not zero. So if you are heading up to northern Arizona Tuesday, maybe Tuesday evening of next week, keep that in mind. It's a possibility. And I think the bigger impact will be some breezy to windy conditions at times as this moves on through. The pressure gradient tightens up. For us in Phoenix, not much fanfare with this. Partly sunny. We'll see some clouds. That's about it. High temperatures should be still somewhere 66 to 70, maybe 71 here in the lower deserts. All right, that system's out of here by Wednesday. It drops into New Mexico and West Texas. Now, it's going to have more moisture that starts to pick up by the time it gets down there. And it's going to merge up with a Arctic air mass that's plunging southeast of the Rockies. Now, that makes for a messy scenario. Across West Texas, but we could see a snowstorm here. At least some snow for Lubbock, Midland, Odessa. Sure, why not? And a little bit of snow maybe for Dallas-Fort Worth. Some freezing rain could get caught up in there someplace too. It really depends on how the timing of all this and, the thermal profiles here. But it sure looks like at least a decent shot at snow for places that don't get it all that often. Unfortunately for us, we're too far away from any of that. It's just dry as can be here, but breezy conditions, the pressure gradient's still tight. So yeah, locally breezy, high temperatures, still somewhere between about 67 to 70, 71, somewhere in there as we go toward Wednesday. Now, here's a week from today. This is Thursday, the 9th of January. And again, another shortwave, positively tilted shortwave drops southward across far eastern Arizona, New Mexico, northern Mexico, and into West Texas. And so that's going to keep cool and unsettled weather there and further to the east as well. And what's notable here is that there's high pressure to the west of us, but a deep layered northerly flow is in place. So, Arizona is still going to be getting some cool air advection. Now, most of the cold punch is going to be blocked by the Colorado Plateau, the Rockies, and all of that. So we're not going to get a real good fetch of cold air dropping in out of Western Canada. But enough to where temperatures are probably not going to moderate too much here. I'd say highs remain relatively close to average, somewhere probably, again, 66 to 71. And overnight lows will mainly be in the 40s. That's going to be a tricky forecast, too, because we'll have breezy conditions at times. And if that occurs in the overnight hours, that can hold temperatures up a bit. But regardless, it looks like fairly typical early January weather. And we see here on the surface chart, yeah, look at that. I mean, you got this surface low in the Gulf, and that's moving eastward. And, we've seen a lot of hype about this on some of these other channels, right? Some of these guys that are hyping up a big snowstorm for the southeast U.S. And look, it is a possibility. It is not something that we can completely discount right now. I mean, if there is going to be a snowstorm in the southeast, this is the setup for it. You got that surface low in the Gulf, and you got Arctic air that's plunged southward. So then the moisture wraps around that and gets caught up in that cold Arctic air, and yeah, you can get some snow. It has certainly happened before. It'll happen again. Question is it going to happen with this scenario? And the prevailing idea here is probably not. This is 11 p.m. our time. That would be 1 a.m. Eastern time on January 9th / early January 10th. That's the GFS look. And of course, if that works out for us, we're dry. But I said there was forecast uncertainty. And that's because if you look at the European at the same time, no snowstorm in the southeast. But what do we have here? An upper low that gets caught up here off of the Baja coast and starts to pull moisture northward. We could see a little bit of rain for Southern California, maybe moving up into Arizona ultimately late next week, if the European works out. Now, again, this would not be a big deluge. We're not looking at a huge amount of rain, okay? If anything, it would probably just be a few hundredths of an inch, maybe a tenth of an inch at most. At most. But it's something. It is something to look for. But again, we're out here in fantasy land and we do not have a clear model solution. So if you're looking for rain here, if you're getting optimistic, temper it a little bit right now. This is just an idea on the table. All right. Let's go back to the GFS here as we go out 10 days. This is Saturday the 11th. And again, look at that. Another pretty impressive, positively tilted trough that's moving into East Texas and toward the Gulf of Mexico and toward the southeast U.S. And they'd have a mess. Again, more rain, and there could be a little snow involved in that, depending on how it plays out. There's another short wave that's dropping in across the west. That's going to pass harmlessly to the north of Arizona, maybe just clipping the four corners. The one thing that we should note here is that temperatures would be held in check just a bit. That ridge is now pushing further to the west. It's retrograding a bit. And should this pattern continue in this manner, what may ultimately happen is that could open the door for a deeper short wave to ultimately drop in here across the southwest and give us a chance at precipitation out here into mid-month. But boy, oh boy, is that a lot of ifs and ands. If ifs and ands were pots and pans, there'd be no room for kettles, right? So we're not going to get caught up in that game just yet. It's just an idea that maybe the pattern favors more unsettled weather eventually here in the southwest. With that having been said, let's take a look at rainfall for Phoenix off the GFS ensemble. This goes out through the 16th of January. Yeah, that's not looking so hot, right? The ensemble mean is only about 0.15 of an inch, although this is certainly better than what we were looking at the other day. European ensemble has become slightly, just a little bit, by a nose, more optimistic. The ensemble means coming up toward 1/4 of an inch, and there are more members that are buying into maybe a cutoff low, he tried to say, here over the southwest. It's been so long since we've even talked about it, I can't even say the words anymore. So maybe that could happen. So again, we'll watch for that. In a pattern like this, with a big ridge out there, a cutoff low is certainly a possibility, and that would be just what the doctor ordered. We could get several days of precipitation if it's set up properly. But again, we're putting the cart before the horse, and we're all the other cliches. Don't count your chickens, and there's something about stitching time and apple a day. All right. Temperatures off the national blend of models. Now, we're going to keep it above average through tomorrow, even over the weekend and into next week. Look, these are still numbers that are a little bit above where they ought to be for this time of year, but we're kind of moving away from that solution of much warmer weather that we were thinking about for a prolonged period. Remember, we were talking about for a while, we could see a period of 80-degree temperatures that lasts for some time, and that doesn't look like it's on the table now. It looks like temperatures will be down to just a little bit above seasonal averages as we go into much of next week and beyond. And that's going to do it for the Phoenix, Arizona weather discussion for today. My next video is due back here tomorrow morning. Should you happen to enjoy these videos, be sure to subscribe, like, share, click that notification bell. Leave those comments, questions, and suggestions. And if you really like what we do here, then click that thanks icon below the video and make those monetary contributions to us. Or you can donate directly via PayPal, just like Gary Johnson did yesterday. Thank you so much, Gary. Our PayPal address, groffshow@gmail.com. That is the PayPal address. It's groffshow@gmail.com for PayPal. The executive producer of the Phoenix, Arizona weather discussion is my one and only, the sweetest of all time, the Asian sensation and proprietor of sweetchildaz.com.org and the Facebook page of the same name, Sweet Child Arizona, talking about my Michelle. Check her out. Check out her blogs, videos. Everything Michelle related is linked up down in the description, as is our streaming station available 24/7, 365. It's called KMGX. We play a ton of music. We have a lot of fun with that. And we, people wonder, what do you do over there on KMGX? Well, of course, it's the most chaotic mix of music, and I invite you to check it out and listen for yourself. But if you want a sample of what we play over there, here you go. That's what we play. And that's all we can do right now because otherwise we get demonetized and that's no fun. All right, I want to say this too. Thank you guys so much for all the great comments lately. I mean, it's just been, your support is always so appreciated. I'm really glad to hear from you guys about all your questions and everything. And I saw so many ideas here and so many things that I'll address here in coming videos. But of course, Happy New Year to everybody that said Happy New Year. Really appreciate that. And all the positive comments about the anti-fireworks sentiment. Even Beth on the comments the other day said that she literally could not breathe on New Year's Eve and into the morning hours on New Year's Day. I know. I'm as an asthma sufferer, as a respiratory sufferer, I can certainly sympathize with you on that. And so many of you, Miles Sampson out there, who had a great comment, said hello to all of us. Happy New Year to myself, Michelle, and Buddy, and Topaz, and Freya Cat. Yes. Always say Happy New Year to Freya, who is, what is she doing? I think she's asleep, actually. She was doing zoomies when I started doing this video, but I think she has tired herself out running around the house. The life of a cat. All right. 2 dogs and a cat, you know. What could be better? All right. Thank you guys again so much. Please be safe out there and have yourselves a beautiful rest of your Thursday.